How about that?
That's just my Southern drawl.
That's right. Talking faster than the speed of sound around here. Folks, Charlie Bolack here. We're going to get it started here. This is a Clubhouse podcast. I'm joined today by with Elliott Vigil and Donald Charbonnet. Got some great things to talk about, and basically want to just jump into just a catch up. Hey guys, how you been? And then we'll see where it goes from there.
Absolutely. Donna, why don't you start us off, brother?
Okay. I'm still doing a lot of M&A work. I've got 6 companies that I'm trying to sell. I have just a new consulting gig on a manufacturer's representative company that wants to go in the rent-to-rent business. And they've hired me to get them into that industry instead of just selling and leasing. And so that's my biggest project I have on the board right now. I got a bid on another company that I've been working on for 2 years, and I finally got the price right with the buyer this morning. So I'm off to a good start for today. So my M&A work is pretty steady. My consulting is steady. I'm actually working with 2 people who got fired from their jobs, and the company owes them money. So I'm playing lawyer a little bit here too.
Oh, wow.
To guide them to try to get their money before we have to get a lawyer involved. And so I had a call this morning from one of them, and another one's been ongoing consulting with an old business partner, Shannon Fethke, who's opened up Elite Industrial Products in Slidell, Louisiana. And he's representing Maxline forklifts and XCMG and Hotzi washers and LG air compressors. So I'm doing a lot of work with him, getting his accounting set up and chart of accounts and finding the right software and things like that.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool.
I'll tell you what, Elliott, I think I'm coming along in my career or things are bumping and getting busy. I just hear from Donald. I'm like, man, I'll tell you, what have I even done this year?
What have you done this year, Charlie? Give us some wins. Give us some things that are rocking and rolling for you.
I tell you, we've made a few good pump sales here, so we're happy with that through the Bolack Business Consulting side. Yeah, Swing Away's growing. We're going to start getting year over year numbers here, probably end of October ish. They'll start to build upon one another, and I'm hoping they come in at about 20% because that justifies me giving it another year.
Wow.
Hey, we're just plugging along, trying to keep it between the mayonnaise and the mustard. How about that?
That's exactly right. So let me ask you, because growth is wonderful, but profitability is better.
Yeah, but you open a business, they say, hey, don't plan on making any money for 2 years. And I didn't plan on making any money for 5 years, right? I did not need, my plan was to scale to 50 and then see where I was going to go from there. So I didn't need an income, but it's costing me money. And when you have to look at writing that check into the business account at the end of every month to cover what your shortfall is, you really start to take that strategic thinking to the next level and say, hey, you know what? I could do this and this with this money. Instead, I'm pumping it into Swing Away. Is it worth it? Is that next little shot of the, what do they call them? The defibrillator? Is that going to be the one that gets the heartbeat going, or do we just need to call it and walk away? So that's tough decisions coming in February here at Swing Away Golf Club.
Wow. Let me ask you this. Is there anything that you could do, or more importantly, should do, that would give that permanent shock and get you off the defibrillator and get you onto self-sustainability?
If I knew that, Elliott, I don't know that we'd be sitting here today. I'd be on my yacht, up at 150 of these things. So no, I don't know the answer there. Now I know my answer is to just keep working, and eventually something will shake loose. That's taken care of me my whole career in sales. That's taken care of me my whole life in business, right? That fits the Auburn creed. I believe in hard work, but there becomes a point to where if the work isn't producing results, where do you go?
That's exactly right. But occasionally we spend so much time working in our businesses that we don't take the time to work on our businesses.
Absolutely. And that was one of the hardest lessons for me to learn in the corporate world. Before I got into this, as you move up that ladder, you have to start taking that step back and trusting people to take on the responsibilities that you've just ascended from. And it's, man, I tell you, it's hard. I know, Donald, you and I talked about that on the first go around. Elliot, I'm sure you've seen it in your career. It's the urge to just fix things with high performers. It's astronomical because that's what we've done. That's what got us to this point in our career. But that, just like the book says, what got you here won't get you there. You've got to pivot and be able to bring that out. And that's tough, man. I
I had
bet
a
Donald.
crazy thought. I had a crazy thought this morning when I got up, and it's never really hit me before, but as I turned 76 in July, I got up and I said, what do I still want to do while I have time? And it just kind of smacked me a little bit. I do all this work. I'm on several advisory boards also. I didn't even get into all that stuff earlier, but do I want to take some time for me? Or I just like working so much that I just take it a day at a time. And if the phone keeps ringing, keep going. Instead of just saying, end of this year, I'm going to stop. I got enough. I'm okay. And I don't need to help anybody else along the way. I don't know. I don't have the answer, but it gave me food for thought for the first time that I really got to think about the next 30 years and what I want to do.
Absolutely. What are you
Ab-
going to do for the next 30 years?
I'm going to have a loving wife, a great family, and take life a day at a time. As long as I'm vertical, I'm okay.
That's right. You are a blessed man, that's for sure.
What
Absolutely.
about you? Been lately?
I haven't been to Taiwan and I haven't been to Africa or South America. Everywhere else is covered.
Okay.
So are you doing the international travel too?
Absolutely. I'm doing the international travel. I'm all over the globe. I am officially a globe trotter. But it's very good. There's lots of construction all over the globe and people are renting equipment. And I am very lucky / blessed that I get to work with a lot of really dynamic people and amazing organizations and get to see some crazy stuff. This past week, I was up in Duluth, Minnesota, Superior, Minnesota, which is a heck of a lot cooler than where I am today. And they were building piers that were absolutely epic. Just hook it onto an excavator and chop up an entire building or chop up a bridge or whatever. Very cool. Getting to tour factories and see stuff like that. Every day, I never know what's going to happen. And it's a heck of a lot of fun. I hope I can stay as young as Donald.
I know you went to Australia to do some training because of the Olympics coming up there, right?
I did. Yeah. And there's a lot of companies over in Europe as well. We did a month over in Europe. So yeah, lots of fun stuff blowing and going and getting to hang out with all kinds of organizations all over the world doing lots of different stuff.
Let me ask about that, Elliot. The European mindset, does that translate into construction too? Because they're a lot slower about things. They're all about their personal time. It drove me nuts. Like when I got over there, they shut down at 3:00. And if you're hungry, that's just too bad. Can you do that on a job site?
You absolutely can. And it is, people forget history. And the United States really, if you look at when the United States made big surges, how we became a global power, how we accomplished stuff, it was this kind of the start of this conversation, which is you will yourself to success, high achievers that just grind away at it. You look at Donald and he's sitting here saying he's in his early years and in his 70s, he is still putting out 110%. And you talk about waking up every day and putting in a full load of effort. And I think what Europe has done is they are more intentional with their efforts, intentional with their time, intentional with their family, intentional with the job sites and things that they do. So it's kind of interesting because the United States really did big industrial surges, massive industrial revolution, World War II. The United States knows how to grind like nobody grinds. And it's one of the reasons why we're extremely successful is we're not afraid to get our hands dirty. Where Europe is a little bit, they spend more time on safety. There is more attention to kind of the paths and the goings and comings where we just get up and there's places even in the United States where the construction job sites are very much still the Wild West. Some people wear hard hats, some people don't. Some people wear safety vests, some people don't. Some people are certified to operate the equipment and some aren't. I know OSHA doesn't want to hear that, but it's kind of the way companies are still. Where in Europe, that would absolutely never happen.
Just a lot stricter, you say?
Yeah, stricter, and they understand the parameters, and everybody's very aware of the value of doing efficient and safe business.
See, that's huge to me. That's something I work on, and I have been, and I make moderate increases, but is the intentionality of what I do, and I've boiled it down to basically signal to noise that you hear all these Steve Jobs and the Meta guy and all those guys talking about. It is I've got a very low signal to noise ratio. I can't have distractions. If there's distractions in my life, I'm going to chase them. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to not focus on my signal, right? Which is what I need to get done. And what that working on improving that has opened my eyes to so much of what I've done. It's not that you're unintentional. It's just not that you're super intentional, right? And that's the people that can bring that into their lives and practice that. I mean, they just project an aura of organization, maybe like you too, as a matter of fact. I feel like I'm the long-haired, you're ruddy one of the group, and you guys have it figured out.
You would never call Donald long-haired, but he does have it figured out.
Yeah, this haircut came the night before I had triple bypass surgery to give my kids something else to talk about instead of my heart. And I figured out it was just simple to keep it. And the money I've saved on shampoo alone is just amazing. I could have bought another house.
Absolutely worth it.
That's awesome.
Hey, Elliott,
Go
Elliott,
ahead.
you did a piece on not long ago about data centers, and there was one in particular that was just freaking almost $1 trillion. And so I'd really like to hear your take on data centers and what you.
It was $250 billion.
Oh, excuse me.
Only.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me. I'll be honest with you. I remember diligently living in Las Vegas and working on and renting equipment at City Center. And when City Center, absolute icon in Vegas, and when that job site was going on, everybody talked about it because it was a $9 job. And everybody was like, this is unbelievable. And the size and the scale and the scope and that was in 2007, 2008. And now you sit down, and I have visited now 5 different job sites around the United States, not one, 5 different job sites that weighed in at over $100 billion.
Right.
And the analogy that I give is that each one of us, it's funny to me because people don't actually know how big a billion is. I'll only speak for me. I didn't know how big a billion was. And everybody kind of giggles. They're like, you don't know how big a billion is? I'm like, well, I know how long a second is. And if a second was $1 and I had 1,000,000 seconds, that would be about 13 days. And then if I had 1,000,000,000 seconds, that would end up being,
Do the math.
no, it's fine. And that would end up being about 30 years.
Wow.
So when you see $100 billion job site, that's the difference between 1,000,000 being 11 or 13 days, something like that, a few days. $100 billion job is literally 3,000 years.
Jesus.
And that just gives you the scope and the scale, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that guy's doing pretty good. He's making $1 million a year. And then all of a sudden you see one of these job sites that's going off for $100 billion. And it's absolutely insane. The scale. I rolled up to a job site in Idaho, and there was over 5,000 construction workers on the job site.
Lord.
Just the traffic, the logistics. People don't think about it, but porta pots and feeding them and like all of it goes into it. It was absolutely mind warping.
Hey, speaking of the logistics of it, Elliot, you said the 5 projects going on. I think at least 1 or 2 of them is in Birmingham, Alabama. There's one, it's I think it's over 100 billion, just not a mile from my business here. But I got to talking to them and they're having a nightmare lining up some of this. So the what are the 200-ton chillers, some of the bigger stuff. And it's because all the fleet is sucked from one job site to the other. And this is all the fleet that currently exists in North America. And it's, man, when you start talking on a scale or a scope of that level, it's incredible just to think that every 200-ton chiller in North America is on 5 job sites.
I got a good one for you. So tomorrow we have an announcement here in South Louisiana that SpaceX is coming in. And SpaceX
Wow.
is going to build a 130 Pecan Island.
Donald, we're losing you, buddy.
Pecan Island has 100 residents. Hold on.
Dude, I really want to hear this. So I'm going to interrupt you because I do not want it cutting out. I want to hear what you got to say, brother.
Is this better?
We're going to hope. All right.
Would that
So
be better?
SpaceX is coming to your neck of the woods.
It's in Vermilion Parish,
Okay.
where my wife is actually from. We have 150 acres of rice fields there, but there's a small portion that's about 7 acres where they used to have a homestead. And they're talking about people paying $35,000 per acre.
Yeah.
What I envision is exactly what you're talking about with these rows and rows of RV parks and stuff. Pecan Island has 100 people, 100 people. And there's going to be 2,000 construction workers.
But I got to
That'd be
ask, if you've got 100 acres of rice field, that means that you're filling those with crawfish.
You got it.
Where are those crawfish going to find a new home at? That's when I do a crawfish, boy, I'm not against Elon Musk, but I got to worry about my crawfish.
You can be both. We're actually 20 miles. Kaplan is 20 miles from Pecan Island. So this Highway 35 is the only way in and out, and it's a 2-lane road. You can imagine what's going to happen down there. It's going to be crazy. So the announcement's supposed to come. This will be
Do they
thousands.
know the estimated value of these launch pads or this launch facility?
Oh, it's in the billions and billions of dollars. They're not even sure exactly what all they're going to put there, but they're going to put rocket launchers or an actual pad to rockets go there and back and stuff. But it's going to be a huge boom for the parish. We don't have counties, we have parishes here.
Absolutely. What's the name of the island?
It's called Pecan Island. And it's
Pecan
like
Island.
very, very south of Vermilion Parish in Louisiana. So
Sell me one
Pecan Island, but
acre, so I can put a holdout. That is the last piece for them to put this whole thing together.
not only that, they're just breaking ground. I was on a call the other day. They're doing a $1.2 billion shipyard in Galveston to bring vessels, to make more vessels. And some of those vessels will be used to go along the coastline for the SpaceX projects. So it's going to be pretty crazy. It's a little bit different from the data centers, but we're going to get our share. We have one data center in North Louisiana going on right now, but some places are rejecting the data centers, and I don't understand. I really need to learn more about the whole process and what it's going to take with water and power and all that kind of thing.
So if you want to see what it's going to do to water and power, they obviously need the water and they use the water for cooling. And the problem is that there's like farmers sign up for water rights, but if there isn't water, they just don't get it. That isn't really an option when you come to these data centers, because if they can't keep cool,
You got a problem.
you got a big problem. But people don't see the same level of urgency that if our farmers don't have water, you don't eat. And it's kind of interesting, but they're putting in all these data centers. And if you want to see the impact, Google, and Charlo probably look it up right now, Google Caterpillar, and look at what Caterpillar's stock has done for the last 18 months. And it is absolutely insane. And that drive in Caterpillar stock is 100% because of the number of large generators, 1 meg, 2 meg, 3 meg generators that they are selling. And they have a backlog right now where they can't even fill all the orders.
I believe that. I believe that.
And then the
What
other big one, which I think is going to shape the US economy big, is they're talking about doing micro nuclear plants. So people don't think about it, but we have aircraft carriers and we have submarines that are 100% nuclear. And they've been running them that way for years. So everybody's like, no, I don't want to have nuclear power. And it's like, look, all of our submarines and all of our giant aircraft carriers are ran, and they can actually make smaller nuclear generators that they can start running some of these facilities on. And with power and water being such a hot commodity, I'm very curious. And you mentioned Elon Musk. I think Musk made an announcement. It was one of the things on why the SpaceX stock jumped to $1 trillion is he wants to put all those data centers in outer space.
You don't have to worry about cooling there. That's for sure. In the vacuum of space, what, negative 200 degrees, something like that.
Absolutely. You're spot on, Charlie. So, and then you don't have to worry about a cloudy day. You can make the whole thing solar. And so literally right now, which is what we're all facing, is it's a race, a construction race. And the construction race, I think, is good till 2032. And then after that, I think whatever data centers aren't built by then, they're going to go into outer space because land, water, and power are going to be too expensive. And they're going to say, we're just going to put them on SpaceX, launch them out of Pecan Island, and throw them up into outer, throw them up into outer space.
I
Throw
tell
them
you,
up into outer space.
tie things back in, Elliot. It is just uncanny, and it brings so much fun to the show. It really does.
And I read, you mentioned Caterpillar. I read last week, I think it was, that Caterpillar teamed up with the state of Arkansas for a jobs program. There's such a shortage of tradesmen that are going on, and Caterpillar's teamed up with Arkansas to sponsor the program to get more tradesmen. There's a big, pretty big investment.
Absolutely.
If I could go back and plan it, I would do it for Louisiana.
The stuff that's going on and the challenges that we all still face in the labor pool, I think it's extremely interesting when I see companies and they're all complaining that there's not enough labor, but at the exact same time, and it's funny at a point because you watch and everybody said, go to college, get these white collar jobs, go after it. And I hate to say it, but the first jobs that are able to be replaced with AI are all white collar jobs. And they're saying that some of the fields that will be most hit by all these new AI and Chat GPT and Gronk and all this stuff, the first jobs that will be wiped out, you can pump all your accounting stuff into AI and it'll be your accountant. You can pump all of your medical information in it and it'll keep it all for you and log it and take care of all that. And they're saying that medical professionals, accountants, even advertising and marketing people are going to take a huge hit. And it's funny because everybody was anti blue collar there, go to college for a white collar job, not a blue collar job. And now I hate to say it, but if you got a good blue collar job, you're pretty set for the next 10 to 15 years until these robots all get made.
Yeah. It's funny you say it because I have one son in construction and one son in advertising. The one in construction has got a better future than the advertising.
Isn't that crazy? I kid you not. I don't want to date myself, but you sit back and you say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when I was getting out of college, if somebody said you have a choice between driving an excavator or being a accountant or even a software developer, which one do you think has the brighter future? And my teachers would say that to me and I would be like, oh, obviously being an accountant or being a software developer. Now, if you're a software developer, you may not have a job in 6 months because all of that can be written by AI.
That's what Donald and I were talking about, Elliott, right before you jumped on, was I'm running all of my social media basically through AI. It's scheduling my posts. I'll give it some basic direction of, hey, I want this on the carousel. I want this for this purpose. I'm going to send this to a wider area. So let's broaden it a little bit. But it does the nuts and the bolts. I sat there for an hour watching my screen as it was doing all this on all my different social media platforms. And you can see it because it still has to enter it. It still has to follow the same schema that you would have to do if you do it yourself. But man, it does it so fast and it can just do so many at a time. It's just, it was incredible to watch. My wife thinks I'm an idiot because I just stared at it and watched it work, but it was fascinating.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think as AI learns and as we teach it, what we need and how we need it to help us, like you're doing right now, you're training AI for the future of AI. And pretty soon you're going to sit there and you give it the little thumbs up or the thumbs down for all the AI stuff. You can really tell this is why companies are spending, looping it back around, hundreds of billions of dollars on data sites, hundreds of billions of dollars on doing all of the software and hardware. The microchips that are getting built right now in the United States is insane. But we all learned something during COVID when they had a lot of the data chips not being able to ship to the United States. People have forgotten, but if you went out and tried to buy a Ford truck in 2021, you couldn't do it. And we all forget that kind of stuff. And the reason why is because there wasn't microchips being made in the continental US. And now the amount of microchips that are being made in the continental US is absolutely insane.
Here's another good example. This consulting gig that I got is a very specialized piece of construction equipment for foundation drilling. I'd never even seen one of these things before. And so I went to Perplexity and says, tell me everything that I need to know about the foundation drilling equipment industry. And I got a lesson in 3 minutes.
Isn't that crazy?
Talk intelligently with these guys about it. And I even said it to them to say, look, I kind of know what I'm talking about now. So I'm getting ready to go up there in a couple of weeks to spend some more time with them. But this AI stuff is just amazing. Just amazing.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask y'all, Charlie mentioned the challenges of being a new business owner. And Donald, you go out and obviously you do mergers and acquisitions and are always looking to somebody who's phasing out and somebody who's phasing in. Like, what do you look for a merger and an acquisition? Like, obviously, how healthy does the business need to be before you can sell it or look to buy it?
I can tell you that the smaller the company, the harder it is to sell. I thought,
ain't that the truth?
The general rental companies, and I've got 3 of them that I can't even get anybody interested. Not even in the state. If I say I've got listings in Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, I thought at least somebody would say, well, let me see what you got in Georgia. Okay. And they're just too small to go through. The pricing is all based on EBITDA. So, I can put on my EBITDA hat, but they're small and the smaller guys don't keep up with their numbers as well as they should. 2 years ago, I sold a company for $30 million. That was like super. And before that, I sold one for $800,000. I was a small guy. And then they turned around and bought the real estate for $1 million too. Okay. So every company is its own little entity and each one is a little different. That's the only way I can put it. But it's really hard to get a smaller one sold unless you got another guy who's just semi-retired and wants to do something. No young guy is going to get in there and do it. By the time you go through SBA loans and things like that, it's just tough. There's more opportunity with the consolidator. Okay. Like the one that I'm closing right now that we got the price right is a standby generator sales and service company. And the guy's doing well, but he's 60 years old. He's broken his back. He's got 30 screws in his back and he just can't go anymore. So fortunately, found this consolidator that's buying up standby generator sales and service companies. That's come to the table. We should have an LOI tomorrow.
Wow.
So it's kind of all over the board. That's all I can tell you. And it's all word of mouth. I put myself out there on LinkedIn sometimes. I got 8,000 followers, nothing like Elliott's 85,000. But I do get a little bit of traction like that.
There you go. And then Charlie, let me ask you, being a business owner, and you got called out just now by Donald, but Donald asked you, do you even pay attention to your numbers and to your EBITDA and to your profitability? Or are you just waking up and grinding right now?
You do, but it's such a small scale, right? My weekly revenue right now on a good week is $1,500. So that there's not a whole lot of number parsing or anything like that. So basically all mine just runs through Square. If I sell any merch online, if I have the bookings here or gift cards coming back. So it runs there. And then I basically roll all that up into QuickBooks, which is where Donald's, uh, let's say cloudiness would come in because I run a car payment through there. I run a daycare payment through there, and it's perfectly legal. It's taxed. It's perfectly what can be done. But yeah, so if I want to look at the true profitability, I do have to back those numbers out. But right now, I'm small enough scale where I can basically, if you tell me a $8.30 transaction to go look up, I probably remember it at this point.
Wow. That's crazy. So is it sustainable?
It yeah, let's define sustainable, right? In the terms of a new business growing, yes, it's sustainable. Is it sustainable with my bank account? Probably not. I can probably keep it going till the end of February. I had to put 75 grand in it throughout the summer just to keep it going because everybody's out on the golf course, and that's coming right out of my retirement. So it's not ideal, but it's each month it ticks up a little bit, and coming into the busy season, you're just always one hit away. That's why it's so hard to walk away from the table in Vegas. That's why it's so hard to shut a business down when it's showing signs of life. It's not dying, right? It's growing. It's just not growing at the rate to which you need it to, or to make it worth your time. I've found about 3 guys that I'm relatively comfortable with. So if it looks like February, I've got enough of a heartbeat, I'm going to go back to work and I'll use my income to kind of backdoor some more money into Swing Away while I'm still doing the Swing Time Media thing and the pump sales. And we've actually added generators just because everybody else was. So why not, Donald? But just things like that to kind of try to support it and get it out there.
I love it. I'm going to ask you something because I know that you're a jack of all trades, play with a lot of different stuff. What would happen if you went all in and put all your time and all your effort on one business, on one skill?
Yeah, if I did, I have the ability to hyper focus, but what that does is when I get into one of those hyper focused states, I neglect my family, I neglect my personal life, I neglect my health, and so it has been better for me historically to stay above and into as many things as I can because the Bible said it, idle hands are hands of the devil. So if I get too much free time, I find something that I shouldn't be getting into. But if I don't have enough, I spread myself too thin, and we struggle to do 8 different things instead of, to your point, Elliott, one thing the right way.
And I'm not saying that one thing all the way in is the right answer. I'm just different people. Like there's people who go out and they do a better job not doing those deep dives because it's just what you said. They go too far all in on it. And not only that, but then get burned out. I run into people all the time and they talk about burnout. And if you look at them, they're high performers that are doing big stuff, but they don't make enough time and they don't retire like Donald should at the time when they should.
Yeah, that's right. It's happened like my wife.
Oh, I'm sorry, Donald. I didn't realize you were still on the call there, man.
My wife, our first meeting with our financial advisor, he said, "When do you want to retire?" And I've got a number. I'm 55, something like that. My wife said, "Attorneys never retire." I think I will. Thank you very much.
I like helping people along the way. Some of it's not always for the money, so to speak. I'd rather see somebody sell a business than shut it down. So do it as a going concern rather than just auction off the assets or sell them off. And those are the kind of things that keep me going and keep me busy. And I'm on advisory boards that keeps a little bit of my time, but not too much. But it keeps me involved with the industry. And it's an industry that I grew up in, and I love all the people in it. Wouldn't be on this call with people like Charlie and Elliott if I didn't love the business. And I've gotten out there and done some networking and shaking some hands. And Elliott and I just met for the first time earlier this year in person. And I thought to myself, when I looked across the room, I said, it's like Roy Rogers, Jesus, my hero.
I don't know
And,
about all that.
and
Are you
ran
going
over
to
there.
you're going to be at the are you going to be at the AED this year or next year?
I'm not sure yet. It depends if Prakash with Chassis wants me to be there. I'm on his advisory boards. He's the AI concierge that's just finding his way. He found me on LinkedIn and had never really been in a rental company or a dealership. And he invited me to go work the show with him. And I was like a Bourbon Street hawker, grabbing people in the aisles, but bringing them into the booth. Come see how we can dance or something like that. You know? But with that, they loved it. I said, everybody walking by every other booth is a potential customer of yours. At one point, I said, I got the booth. You go walk around and go talk to some people, because everybody here, manufacturers, reps, and all that kind of thing, they need chassis. And I think he just recently got hold of California, signed up, which has got to be huge for him. And he's part of this Y Combinator group out of San Francisco that they only take in so many people to help them develop their business. So he just moved from New York to San Francisco. And so we touch base every couple of weeks just to see what's going on.
That's awesome.
That's a real interesting one, because now that I've been exposed to that, I'm finding that when I call the drugstore or call the doctor's office, that you're talking to AI and they want to know your name and why you're calling. And at the end of the day, you're going to talk to a human, but you got to go through a couple of steps first. And then I go to the CVS to pick up my medicine, and they got a pad where I got to put in my name and my date of birth. And the lady's standing right in back of me, right in front of me.
Yep.
And she says, "Oh, okay, you're Donald Charbonnet. I have two for you." Like, yeah, we could have done that in half the time. I didn't have to put in my name and number. There's some people you can't be rude to, like folks and pharmacists and people like that.
I'm going to have to find a way to mute myself on the laughs here, Donald. My computer's way over there. Normally I can just hit a mute and have a nice little laugh, but now it's too far away and you're making me laugh. So I'm cutting you off halfway through your.
You can edit it out. We just rapping with three guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is great.
Perfect. All right. So any other good topics, Charlie, as our host, that you want covered?
So I think based on some of the things that you guys wanted to talk about, I had one singled out. Now, what have I done with it here? About what keeps customers coming back. I think, Donald, that was yours, wasn't it?
Well,
and kind of, go ahead.
There's one thing that keeps customers coming back: good service. A lot of the questions that we threw out there all get back into service. One of the questions that we threw around on paper, I think it was last time, is that what do you do with a new customer? And a couple of my thoughts, and Elliott, you can expand upon them, but let's just say it's a data center, okay? Let's take the biggest opportunity that's out there, and I'm representing ABC Equipment Rental. And so not only do I go out there, but I bring my inside coordinator and my service manager out there with me and do an introduction to the team. And it's not just me, but I think that this project is big enough that if you need help and you can't get me, you've got Joe's name, you've got Tom's name too. So I'm giving you all the resources that you can bring. Let them shake their hand.
Okay.
Another one is if it's just a small new client, bring them a little ditty bag with a cap and a pen and a mug or something like that, rather than a donut all the time.
Agreed.
Those are two things. And Ellie, I know in all your teachings, there may be some other tactics that you like to talk about.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say probably one of the biggest things is everybody says, rightfully, if I go on a sales call and somebody says, why you? Why should I come to your establishment? Whatever that is. And it's funny, everybody says, amazing service. They have no hesitation, amazing service. And each one of us has expected, and not only expected, but experienced different levels of service at the exact same restaurant or chain. And what I mean by that is I've walked into, and I'll speak for today. I go to the airport. I'm running through the airport. I'm getting ready to jump on a plane. I swing by the Starbucks to get a cup of coffee. It's early. I'm not going to pick on Starbucks. The three people that were there, I don't think should be the first people to open up the Starbucks because I stood up second in line for to order, not to get my coffee, just to order. I was second in line, three people working. I'm second in line. And after 15 minutes, guess what I realized?
That's
I'm not getting a cup of coffee this morning. I don't, when you're standing at Starbucks for 15 minutes to order and you're second in line. Now, to a credit, when you say give absolutely amazing customer service, the biggest thing I think is consistency. And I'm realizing that people should know what they expect. To say amazing service to me is a really broad spectrum because what's amazing service to one person may not be amazing service to somebody else. But I will tell you, if I go and I know what I'm going to consistently get for service, what quality I'm going to get, you will build a customer loyalty based on the number one first human need, certainty. We all need certainty in our life. And it's crazy to me as I watch companies and they go out and they sell and they promote and they do all this stuff and they're like amazing service. I don't know if I want to plant that seed in somebody's head because if we show up and they say amazing service and the unit shows up, it's supposed to be there at 7 o'clock and it shows up at 7 o'clock and the guy goes, where we're from, if somebody says 7 o'clock, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. And the truck driver, the company says, yeah, we weren't late. We were here at 7 o'clock. And he goes, you should have been here 15 minutes early. But if you set the expectation of this is the level of service you can always expect, and we're consistent as hell in taking care of our customers. I will tell you right now, rather than wow customer service, I want consistent customer service. And then I'll pick the companies that have that scale that matches what I'm willing to do. And I think that's one of the biggest things that's killing companies right now is that they say amazing customer service and they're not evaluating what's the expense and what's the cost. And different people offer up different levels of service and they all cost something different. Where I think if I know what I'm getting every day, Chick-fil-A, is it the best chicken sandwich I've ever eaten my whole life? No, but they are consistent as hell.
Great point. That's a great point. Now, as far as that goes, where does it become great customer? Where does great customer service become something that drives loyalty? Because that's what I need right here. Yeah, I need loyalty at Swing Away, right? People come in and have great service. I've had 50 Google reviews and only one was bad. And that's because I argued with the guy on Facebook Marketplace. Had nothing to do. I don't think he ever actually came to Swing Away. I'm not inspiring the amount of loyalty I need. I need some of these people to feel like they're a part of it, right? That they need to give their hard-earned money to Swing Away to help keep the doors open. And I just don't think I'm inspiring that level of loyalty. The question is it something I'm not doing, something I'm not doing good enough, or is it just something that some people have and some people don't?
I think Elliott's key word there was consistency. You go back one time, you get a good service, and go back second time, you get a good service. And so I know I'll drive by 3 other fast food places to get to the one that I know is always going to be the one that I like. And in our case, it's Cane's Chicken. It's a Louisiana-based company, and they don't have 50 things on the menu. You can get chicken fingers and how many you want. And that's about it. And the lines move fast and the people are friendly and all that kind of thing. So I think when you drive up, they say, chicken, what you picking? And so it's a 3-piece or 8-piece. And the funny story about this, the guy who owns it is the richest man in Louisiana. He's worth $16 billion. Todd Graves, he went to Georgia for school and then went to LSU grad school. and his thesis paper was about
Failed.
chicken fingers, and the guy gave him a horrible grade. He said, "This will never work." And now he's
Isn't that
got like
crazy?
900 locations, and he's the richest guy. They say that he'll probably be the next owner of the New Orleans Saints whenever Mrs. Benson passes.
Isn't that crazy?
I would.
I love somebody with a grudge.
Because he's national now, he's even in Times Square. The consistency part is that you got suppliers now all over the place. It's not just the same little supplier from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So they give their recipes and exactly what they want to the local suppliers if they want to sell them chicken or iced tea or Texas toast or exactly the way the fries have to be cut and all that kind of thing. So that's why you go in any Cane's, it's going to be the same every time.
Wow.
And it still has that
Consistency.
local spin on it. That to me, that's huge. Like I'm fighting a local company here that, for the purposes of this, we're going to call them Bovine Stone, but they're one of my closest neighbors, and I just thought it would be a perfect partnership, right? They entertain, they've got customers, they've got vendors right across the street from me, right? Their corporate headquarters of probably 300 people. And it made sense. They came in right when we opened. Oh, this is great. We're going to do this. We'll be booking this, this, and this. And then fast forward a year later, here we are. They've been in a couple times, and I probably don't really have the temperament for this because I don't sugarcoat what I'm thinking. And if I've got a problem with somebody, they know it, right? I'm not a guy that's going to talk about you behind your back. I'm going to talk right to your face. And that's why did local have to die with COVID? Why are these supposed local guys not helping to bring it back? Right. And that's when you told that story about Cane's, Donald, it made me think when he gives his recipe to the local guys, he's supporting his local economy around that new business. So he's, what is it? High tides raise all ships or something like that. He is going into that market and saying, hey, I'm growing, you're growing with me. We're growing together. We're going to build this thing. And that's what I'm trying to bring to Birmingham, Alabama. And people are just hesitating. They're staying on the fence, watching. I don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me.
So the fact that you invited us both back means that we're okay with you.
No, hey, and you guys have been more than gracious with your time. You were still my first two that I went after and asked. I had to work on my courage for Elliott. After he said yes, Donald, you were easy because I already had him. But you start somewhere and you go and you make connections along the way and you grow together.
So I'll give you one piece of advice or swing away. And here's my piece of advice.
I'm ready.
People don't go there. Stop. I'll give you an example. If I go to Home Depot, I don't buy a drill. You know what I buy?
Convenient.
A hole.
A hole.
Nobody goes and buys a drill. You don't need a drill. A drill doesn't do a drill just sits there. What you want is you want what it performs. Now, here's why I tell you this. All these companies, all these people, all these families, stop selling golf. What you need to do is say, when was the last time you all sat in the same room together, had an amazing conversation, threw down a little bit of competition, and got to be a family, got to be a corporation, got to be together, pulling everybody's heads out of their phones and building the one thing that we all need: teamwork, human connection, and family. Now, if that happens to be around a golf simulator, game on. But the truth is, we really don't care about your golf scores. What we care about is that you spent quality time with the people in your life. Nobody's going to say on their deathbed, I wish I had 15 more minutes on my phone. But they will say, I wish I had 15 more minutes or 15 more rounds or 15 more holes with my family.
You're selling an experience, basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's in my messaging. That's in my market. Let's build a community together. Let's find a place where everybody connects and relaxes and all that. I need to work it into the visuals though. I think I can do that. I think Elliott, I think I can make that happen.
And then here's the other thing, it's actually better than real golf. Cause I'll tell you, when I go play real golf, I'm with the guy in the cart with me and we're on the tee box. Other than that, we're out running around and you don't really talk to anybody.
Yeah,
You
the
gotta be
inner
you got to be quiet when you're putting. You got to be quiet when you're. This is a cultural thing where we get to be together as family and friends.
and to the gamification piece, right? Come in, have a long drive championship, and give the winner Friday afternoon off. Hey, you get to skip the sales meeting because you won the thing. Just little things like that, and that's where I've tried to connect with these business owners that come in and these people that are capable of making decisions and doing things like that. And it's always the same. Oh, it's a great idea. Wonderful. I'd love to do that. And I'm wondering now if I'm just not closing it hard enough because they leave and the idea just walks out the door with them. Right.
Well,
Elliott, so you know, I did tell Charlie this little secret last time I talked with him, and that my handicap in golf is 6 balls or 6 beers, whatever goes first.
absolutely. Yeah. And see, mine's a 2. Too many swings and too many beers.
By far the hardest sport I've ever tried. I
Yep.
gave it up a long time ago.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
just love it. It's so relaxing. Yeah, to me, it's social. You get to be with people. You get to be around people you want to be around with, and it's not about golf like like your whole analogy, right? It's togetherness.
There it is. And what I would do is I would hang at the front door or over the door as people are exiting. Peter Drucker, might want to write this one down. Peter Drucker once said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And the problem is too many companies spend a lot of money on their plans and their strategies. And what they never do is spend time building a culture where people feel safe to take risks, work hard, play hard, and be successful.
Too many people say that this goal, not enough follow through with it. One of the big things I was pushing on, especially on projection based comp plans, is you're basically asking people to be compensated off your plan or your guess at the future. And that's why I don't like that. That's why I feel like it breeds a little bit of greed because if they miss a little bit, corporate gets to keep a little bit because they don't have to pay that bonus out, right? They don't have to hit that accelerator for the guy hitting numbers 12 months. If he misses numbers 1 month out of 12 and he's on you hit numbers every month accelerator, company just saved $100,000.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Outstanding. Perfect. Gentlemen, I've got another meeting I got to jump into. I've loved this hour plus
Thank you.
conversation that we've had. It's been absolutely epic. I look forward to doing one here in the near future. And Donald, I need to have a call with you when we get offline because I think I got some mergers and acquisitions we got to discuss.
Sounds like a winner.
And I
I'll
think,
call you.
and Charlie, I'll make a trip down. We'll see if we can play a little bit of golf.
Hey, sounds great. Sounds great. Y'all take care, fellas.
Outstanding. Take
Okay.
care, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Charlie.
Bye.